where you say yes to the initial thing and then all of a sudden it means more and more tentacles. Okay, this was a yes, but this is starting to not feel like a yes. And
write it down, the pros and the cons, and then make a decision. But what we're talking about is letting your whole body wisdom.
hello, Katie.
Hello, Sophie. Good morning. I'm looking at your happy self, and when I look at you, I feel more happy.
I feel that your jacket, even you make me happy always, but your jacket is like, what a gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to do a little twirly thing here.
Yeah, yeah, that's so pretty.
Wow, this is.
Look at how the bottom has this little like,
Yes, yes.
oh, it's like a
yes,
little tail. Oh my God, it's cute.
Yes.
Oh, that's a different piece. Okay, okay.
yes. And
Very cute.
thank you.
That's our fashion minute. Hey, I really, as we both are tapping into our own experience, I really would like to bring up a topic that I'm experiencing right this moment. So I thought it would be a good.
Well, in the moment is perfect.
Too much. Too much is the theme of the topic. And as you know, I've built my life very much around, the full body yes, and I don't commit to things that I don't feel, the excitement. But lately, there's a lot of things that I'm really excited about. And I do wonder if, the full body yes is one of the filters, but maybe other ones, because there is such a thing as too much, possibly.
Well, what I was hearing from you is that it was pretty much nonstop for you for several hours already this morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it has also for me the analogy of the reservoir, because for so many years out here in California, I was attending to the water every day. Like, what's the water situation like, and what are the reservoirs like? And now the reservoirs are full for the first time in a couple of decades, and so it's a different kind of a situation of when you're still not feeling completely nourished or engaged, and you want to do more. But when you get full, now how do you make decisions about what you're going to say yes to? And but then also once you get into it, I've often found that something that I initially say yes to, I don't realize that it has tendrils. It may be like fungi, there's lots of different, and starts weaving with other things. And then, oh, how about this? And then, oh, how about this? And, it sort of grows.
So the initial yes ends up being almost like rechecking that the next yes and the yes that comes with that yes is still a yes, like to kind of continue to like make sure the tentacles don't, because they may not be a yes as much. But now you said yes to the initial thing, and so maybe you're a little bit dragged into the other yeses that come with it, but not strong yeses, maybe.
What it reminds me of is how important it is for people when they're going from here to there to make the initial commitment. But then once you start moving in your journey, all kinds of other things come up. And so recommitting, adjusting, and recommitting is a part of the journey that people don't really consider. Like, well, I'm in, and so I'm just on the ride. But it's not as if you can ever really be passive about being on the ride. You're engaging in co-creating where you're going. And so my sense is that the initial yes can't ever cover everything that's going to happen.
Right. And so when you say yes initially, the truth is really for now and for this, but I don't know, like what if, like when I started pickleball, it was a very strong yes, but did I know I was going to play 2 hours? I mean, that's a commitment. I played 2 hours a day.
So we're also talking about time and how many hours there are in the day and what your priorities are. So that might be another way to look at this is, what are your priorities right now in your life? And I think for anybody, what are your priorities? And is this still meeting your priority?
Yes, that's a really good question. But what if it is? What if, I mean, do I I mean, not everything can be a 10. That I always, I used to say that to my daughter. It's like, you can use the chart, but you cannot use the 10 for everything, that you want. And so I wonder if there is an element for me, like almost going from my body, which is always where it starts anyway, and notice the speed a little bit, because now I wake up earlier because I want to keep going to my pickleball, but I still want to do these other things. So it's like I'm stretching, but the way I know that maybe it's too much is
Yes.
starting to realize this. Like I close my Zoom at the end of the day and I didn't close it all day because it goes from one to the other, to the other, to the other.
Wow. Wow.
It's like I look at the thing and it's like there's like 8 hours in the meter that's been used. And so I mean I get up, I do my thing, maybe I don't, but it's still commitments on the hour, pretty much on the hour. So maybe this is what I'm hearing. What you're saying is like I can start from the current experience, then go to the calendar maybe and be like, okay, what do I need to recommit with? What do I need to maybe negotiate that I'm not doing it now, that I'll do it later, or maybe that I won't do it at all, as we discussed recently. No is a full sentence. Um, but to start with this little, it's almost like a little, it doesn't feel like anxiety long term, but it feels like a little.
Well, you did something with your hands when you were talking about it. When things start to get a little squirrely,
Yes.
so there's a level of discomfort
Yes.
that I like to listen to, because I like to listen to, what does this mean?
Mm.
So, for example, recently I had a full body yes to doing a couple of different things out in the world.
Okay.
And then as it developed and, things are things are going on, in the collective, I really got, oh, the timing for this isn't right. And so I have postponed one of them to next year.
Oh, so
So
that's
the whole
renegotiating. That's
yeah,
one tool.
yeah, renegotiating, and I still have a yes to it. I still want to do it, but the timing wasn't right.
Mhm.
And so also tuning into, I was remembering talking to Gay years ago when I was first, trying to juggle all of these different things I was doing. He was saying that 3 to 5 things that are, your top
Yes.
priorities,
Mhm.
we can usually handle that, but you get more than 3 to 5, and it's going to start pulling on your sense of well-being, of all of the other things that give moment to moment life joy. So I know if I were on Zoom 8 hours, this would not be joyful for me. Even though I might be participating in something that's really worthwhile, that I really appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how maybe I've pushed a little bit of this being present in the moment a little further than I would want to do because I look at it as like this moment is delicious. Like I want to have this moment. And that is one of the hours. And what I did earlier was delicious. But if I start putting them, one onto the other,
Yeah,
the
I'm thinking
muchness
about.
makes it not like at the end of the day. I may actually, I was feeling it when I got to our call. I was really feeling a little, like almost like I wasn't bringing my full you to you. There was almost like a quality of, I mean, I dropped into you immediately. Like it doesn't take me very long, but there was almost kind of this like fluttering above myself, if that makes
Yes. Yes, a little bit of a flea,
sense.
and not quite fully landed.
Yeah.
I was reminding, as you were talking, of going through a cafeteria line and going, "Oh, that looks good. Oh, I'll have some of that, and I'll have some of that," and then suddenly your plate is
It's too
heaping,
full. Yes.
and has too much. So the whole idea too of missing out, FOMO, fear of missing out, or, oh, that looks so interesting. So the ability to feel the priority in yourself,
Mhm.
and is this a priority that's coming from something I want, or something that I'm reacting to, like, oh, this would be really good for my career, or, oh, if I don't do this now, it's not going to be available again. And so I always look at to see, is there any fear in my decision?
Mhm.
Is there any, and can I sense any fear in my decision? And then I'm going to check. And if I, release the fear and I, breathe and do fear melters and I'm presencing myself, and then I like to imagine myself actually being in the thing that I'm making a decision about,
Mhm.
participating in it or, doing all the things that are involved in it. And then I check again to see, does this increase my energy or decrease my energy?
Mhm. Mhm. That's a really powerful one to pause along the way, as opposed to, as you were describing earlier, where you say yes to the initial thing and then all of a sudden it means more and more tentacles and all, but to dare is almost the word that comes to mind, to pause and be like, okay, this was a yes, but this is starting to not feel like a yes, and to have the courage or the whatever it takes, the guts.
I think it is the courage
Yeah.
to, because you would be making you wouldn't be flowing with the, oh yes, of course, and
Mhm.
and also that sense of connection with others. I had a very specific thing like that happen a few years ago where somebody had wanted me to participate in a Zoom class, and my part was going to be this amount of time, and so I said, yeah, this sounds really interesting, and then they kept sending me things. Well, we need you to fill this out. And now we need your outline. And now your outline is not really full enough for what we want. And we had not had that as part of the initial agreement. And so I, at that point, had, they'd already done the publicity. And so it felt a little bit as if I had been lured in and they hadn't shared the fine print with me. And
Mhm.
so at the end of this, I know I asked for to speak to the person who had organized it and to give them feedback about the whole process,
Mhm.
which I did. And lo and behold, they never asked me to do that again.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that is part of what happens if you're not willing to just jump through all the hoops. But I think it's really important that we establish well-being is more important, than anything. And if I'm feeling stressed by this, and there's also an unclarity about the agreements, I think that's something that can creep in, is that
Mhm.
people don't understand. I think I'm saying yes to this, and I go through the door, and there's this whole warehouse of stuff
Yeah.
that they want me to deal with. And I went, wait a minute,
That's
this
not the
wasn't in
yes.
the,
That's not the yes I give you. Yeah.
yeah, that's no, I didn't say yes to this.
There is another circumstance in our lives, yours and mine, that I remember because sometimes I've said yes to my things, it feels balanced, and then something happened, like what happened with Gay, where you had to refocus and shift, tending to what was happening with his leg and the accident and all. And I don't know what you want to say or share about that, but my question is, when you have this many pieces that fit really well, and then life throws
Well,
them.
that was exactly what happened with Gay when, people may not know that about a year and a half ago, he slipped down in the backyard and fell on his knee and shattered his femur. It was a very, very bad break. And he's ended up having 4 surgeries after in the last year and a half, and is now actually really, really getting better. But on the day after he broke his his leg, I was starting a training. The next day, I was supposed to have 30 couples for a couples course. And that weekend, we were having a fundraiser for the foundation. All of this was planned. And it's like, whoop.
Yep.
So what I did was just be very transparent about it. With,
With
I
all
went
with
ahead
the
and,
parties.
well, first of all, I got support. So I think that having somebody who you really care about who can give you feedback about what's going on, what you might want to do, but can also kind of take up the slack.
Mhm.
And so I had a very close friend who could come and be with Gay, which was allowed me to go ahead and do the training. And I just told everybody what was going on, and we modified what we were doing that weekend. So I think that the sharing, being completely authentic, completely transparent was really helpful. But what I ended up realizing is that it had changed my bandwidth.
Yeah.
So for the last year and a half, I've just been saying to people, I haven't got my full bandwidth,
Mhm.
and so I want you to know. So as we're planning this, I may change things at the last minute. So, given that, do you still, is this,
Don't want to commit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, do you still want to commit?
I was talking to a client a few days ago who started the call describing he was stressed and he felt some pressure that he wasn't delivering and he wasn't fulfilling his mission. Like he kind of took it right away. And then he shared that there was a weekend possibility that wasn't planned and he really is happy that he did it and it was really fun. And then there was this dinner that wasn't going to happen and he went to bed really late. And I realized as he was talking that and then he was upset that the next day he didn't deliver. And I said, well, you didn't adjust you changed the commitments that you were making and you're happy that you did it. Therefore, the next morning, you kind of need to reshuffle and recalibrate because you're not going to like, it's not like it didn't affect your schedule. It affected your schedule.
Yes. Yeah. So you put, you put something else in and it changes everything downstream,
Yeah.
so.
But if you don't take a moment to look at that, you easily could be experiencing well, I said I was going to do our finances this week and I didn't. And it's like, no, because you chose to take the weekend doing something else, which you love that you did. So be in collaboration with yourself almost is the vision I had is like, be a friend. It's like if you were to say to me, I was going to come and meet you, but now I have to be at the hospital. It's like we would renegotiate with each other.
Right.
But I
Right.
don't know that people take the step to renegotiate with themselves sometimes.
I think that's really valuable. What you're saying is that I think we then pile things on ourselves. We kind of do what I would call the inner triangle of the hero, victim, and villain. So, oh, I really want to do this. Well, I don't know if you're going to have time. Oh, yes, I will have time. Oh, but now I feel really tired. And how come you didn't keep me from doing this? And I'm going to have some ice cream because I feel so tired. And now,
Because
so
ice cream solves everything.
now ice cream solves everything, of course.
And so maybe we're back to a little bit of like identifying in your body, like he did. Like he started the call with like I'm feeling this pressure in my chest, and we kind of tracked it. But we're back to how does your body feel in the moment, in that present moment, and then to act accordingly, to respect what it's saying.
Yes, and I think that's the hard part because I think that is what establishes integrity with yourself. If you can count on yourself to be authentic, to say, hey, you woke up tired this morning. Let's take a look at what happened yesterday and,
Mhm.
the sequences and the timing of things and changing an agreement. So it brings me to one of the integrity skills that I think most people either ignore or do very badly, which
Mhm.
is changing an agreement that's not working.
Mhm.
And it can be not working because something happened, something else showed up. Somebody came, flew in unexpectedly, or somebody gets sick, or these things that happen all the time, and we just assume that we're going to be able to continue our lives. And I think people experienced so much of that during the pandemic, also of things that they had planned to do, and now suddenly we can't
Open up
do them.
up
And
and stop the whole world.
well, and all of the things that stopped, but then somebody else could do it, but you couldn't do it because you couldn't do the timing. And so there was a lot, I think, of the opportunity to renegotiate agreements. And when an agreement isn't working, I think it takes courage to say, "Hey, I'm noticing that I feel really excited about, but now I feel really like there's so much, and I didn't know there was going to be so much, and so I want to renegotiate either timing or the amount or the sequence. I think there are lots of things that can be renegotiated instead of going yes or no. I'm going to throw the whole thing out.
Mhm.
So postponing, doing, making it smaller or bigger,
Mhm.
or the sequence of something. But if I'm not open to saying, hey, that initial facing into, one of our processes that we've been teaching for many years is we call FACT.
Mhm.
And I think that would be a great navigating tool for this situation. So,
Please share.
so the first one is facing. And
Mhm.
I think that's what people don't do. They kind of go, "Oh, something's going here, but we'll just carry on."
Mhm.
And so when you're not facing, you've already lost connection with the other person or the group or whoever is on the
Or
other side.
yourself.
or you, yes, or yourself. Like I'm not facing, I'm doing everything else rather than,
Mhm,
rather than actually, oh, this is what's happening.
mhm.
And that is the most difficult step I've seen for people. And people will do all kinds of other things rather than
To
facing.
avoid yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But once you've faced, then facing what is actually going on. And the way I do that is what's the most difficult thing about this?
Mhm,
So, oh, the most difficult thing is that I'm going to miss you and I'm not going to come to this particular meeting. And no, that's the most difficult. And then the next step is accepting.
mhm,
And the way that I navigate that with people now is, I want to do this. Oh, and I'm nervous about it. So you actually using your hands. I want to. Oh, and I don't want to.
mhm,
Or, this has now become difficult. Oh, but I don't want to say anything about it. And you play with that,
mhm,
your kind of your yeses and nos and considerations until you feel that you've accepted what's going on right now. And then the next step is choosing. So,
mhm,
given all of that, what do I really want? And that's where the whole tuning into what do I really want? No, that's what you want for me.
mhm,
No, I want this. No, that's what my mother would say.
mhm,
Or, just and choosing until you really get this is what I want. And
mhm,
then T is taking action.
mhm,
And that's where the rubber meets the road. So the T would be right now, I want to take a look at the agreement that we made. And I want to take a look with you at changing this part of it.
mhm,
And that's the action that I'd like to take today. And
mhm,
I found like when the unexpected happens, like years ago when I fell off my bike and I broke my hip, when I was in the hospital, I did FACT probably 3 dozen times because there would be like this thing would happen. And go, oh, okay. Like they found out I'm allergic to morphine. Like, oh, so,
let's
you
face
know,
that.
and and so when I came out of surgery, I felt as if I were being stung by a million mosquitoes, and they had to give me Benadryl, and I mean it was really so. So the facing, accepting, choosing, and taking action, I find is such a flexible but such a friendly process because it allows me to stay in connection with the world, with you, with me, and to make a decision that allows me to then adjust my actions in a way that I can still be with myself rather than leaving myself behind or piling up more on top of the too much. And the so FACT, we have that on our foundation website.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a link to
We
that.
have a link, and I just find it there's a video that leads you through it, and so if you took, a little bit of time to integrate that process, my sense is it could make a huge difference in just navigating the complexities of life, which are, in some ways getting more and more complex.
Mhm,
And the other issue that a person that I met the other day, I was asking her, what would you like to have us talk about on the call? And she said, too many friends. I went,
mm,
oh, oh, so that's an issue with social media and friending people and following and then following people's, whatever they're posting that that they did today and then commenting on that. And what's my obligation to do that? And then people inviting, and even though there are all of these fabulous things going on, um, one of the things that Jung said that, is a little dramatic, Carl Jung said, you can't make love to 10,000 virgins.
oh,
I mean,
that's a little dramatic.
exactly. Yeah, it's very dramatic, but it kind of gives you the sense of, that would be, some people might aspire to that. But there is a limit. We live in physical bodies that
Mhm.
so choosing in light of all of that, I think, makes a lot of people squirmy.
We're it's funny because it fits in a conversation I was having with my brother this morning, who was telling me about like he's accomplished this one thing that's been really hard for him to accomplish, and the way it did happen is one of the days we were on the call. I said, "What if how long is it going to take to do this thing?" And he said, "Oh, 30 minutes." And I said, "Well, what do you have to do now?" And he said, "I have 2 hours." And I was like, "Oh, how about you? Trying to fit that 30 minutes in there?" And And then, of course, he did it, and he was so happy, and he sent me a text about it, and I celebrated with him. And but then when we talked about it a few days later, there was like he was like, "Why is it so easy for me to do it? Because I knew I was going to share it with you, and it was almost like I had made that commitment to you. But why is the commitment to me, which he had been dragging this thing that was eating up at his soul for so many days?" And I feel like you have an answer. I'm just going to shut up and let you.
Oh, no, I love what you're saying. Resonating with also the conversation that we have inside ourselves. So I found that having an advocate, a friend, particularly a friend, but someone whom you respect, who can advocate for you learning how to do this.
Mhm,
It's not something that we learn how to do. Is renegotiating an agreement is basically
mhm,
what we're talking about, an agreement with ourselves, an agreement with the world. And I was remembering when first met Gay, he already meditated, and
mhm,
I wanted to learn how to meditate, which I did.
mhm.
And but the practice of meditation is meditating. It's not learning how to meditate, it's actually meditating.
Yeah.
And because Gay committed and recommitted and recommitted. So if I felt a little wobble, I had an advocate
Mhm,
whom I could go, okay, we're meditating. I have all this going on, but we're meditating. And
mhm,
so that it's kind of what they call in meditation practice back to one.
mhm,
That when everything gets a little squirrely, you come back to one. So you come back to the breath, or you come back to the mantra. And so for us, it would be coming back to yourself, coming back to, okay, how am I experiencing this right now? Doing a little mini FACT, feeling, is there any fear there? But it is, and I think that in the beginning, to have a friend that you can say, hey, I'm learning how to do this, and
mhm,
I feel kind of awkward at it, and I would love to have your support. So you can touch in, like, I did pretty well with it today, but I dropped the ball when, because I really didn't want her to not like me, and I didn't want to say no. And so that one is still incomplete. And then you have somebody who's really for you, who
mhm.
can say, "Well, that sounds familiar," like a little kind of put it into a drawer over here. And then you're going to have a drawer stuffed with stuff. You don't know what's in there. And it all spills out when you open it up.
Mhm. It's funny, I feel like I broken record a little bit, but I often come back. We had this conversation with Janine Roth when she was here and a couple other people. It feels to me like at the heart of it, there's still, am I willing to be kind to myself? Am I willing to love myself in this moment? Because if I keep my agreements, I love myself so much more, so much more. It's like there's this integrity wheel inside. Oh, it's just so delicious,
It's
right?
like the wheels on your shirt. You get the more
Yeah.
aliveness, and that's the payoff. You get more aliveness, more being here right in this moment, more juice to connect with others.
And more confidence, more confidence. Like, why do I think of people that keep breaking their agreements? I don't trust them. So if I keep breaking my own, I don't trust me. That's a pretty simple math. But I wanted to turn it upside down. Does it start with I need to care for myself. Therefore, I'm going to keep these commitments because I'm going to feel wonderful if I do. I feel like this little piece of I want to rise my self love and self connection plays in this thing because otherwise, why would I do all these things that make me feel better? Am I making sense?
Yes, yes, you are making sense. And I think what people miss is that an integrity move makes you feel better.
Mhm,
An integrity move brings you into alignment rather than having all kinds of wobbles.
mhm,
So we sometimes use the analogy of a car. And if your wheels are out of alignment, at first you may not notice it, but that wobble then moves through the whole car and create all kinds of havoc and ultimately danger. And so, but when you get everything aligned, life can flow through you, and you get to participate in life and enjoy it while accomplishing things.
mhm,
So I've always found, for me, it's not exactly a moral issue, integrity. It's really an aliveness and an alignment. So if I'm in alignment, I'm not going to have those stress signals and worry and little brakes on, accelerator, brake, and, start, stop. And to me, that's a signal that I'm out of integrity.
Mhm.
And so all of the skills about agreement, but particularly changing an agreement that's not working.
Mhm.
So I do that even if I've said I'm going to meet somebody, like I met somebody for breakfast yesterday, and I was heading out the door, something happened. And so I just texted her and I said, I'm going to be 5 minutes late.
Mhm.
So that was my letting her know, we had an agreement, and I was letting her know that I was not going to be keeping that agreement. And so whatever we needed to handle about that, if she was mad but I'm staying I'm returning to alignment in my experience of integrity.
I would argue that a lot of people wouldn't, because like 5 minutes is the same as an hour. There's no difference. You're not where you said you were going to be. Like there's a part of us that's very literal that way.
That's
I'd
right.
argue that some people will be like, oh, 5 minutes in traffic, like oh, everybody, like as long as it's not 50. And like I've always heard that. Like as long as
Right. So, we have our limits. Like, well, if it's 15, that's okay. But if it's 20, no, no, no,
not
that's
so
not
much.
okay.
That's so, but what's powerful with what you just said is you care about your integrity so much that 5 minutes is a big deal, because it is breaking. It's like if we have half the wheel, the car doesn't work. There's really physics to the equation. Like what you were describing with the sun.
That's
It's
right.
not a
There's
moral
measurable
issue.
physics. Yeah. Well, and also, like, if I, you showed up for the call this morning, and I didn't show up until 5 minutes later.
Mhm,
They're like,
mhm,
oh, I just had, the cat escaped, and I would do, but I didn't let you know, and
mhm.
you don't know if I've died or if what's going on here. But uh, Tom, I think it was Tom Peters said there's no such thing as a minor breach of integrity.
I love that. Yeah, you've said that with me. Yeah.
And I really love that, because people go, "Oh, come on, don't be such a tight ass." It wasn't that, but it actually is. Your
Mhm,
body keeps track,
mhm,
and so as I've become more and more impeccable
mhm.
about particularly agreements, I get to enjoy aliveness. And then another issue is people not keeping their agreements with me. That's a whole other. We should do a whole other show about that. But what I start with is, am I supporting my own aliveness by doing what I say I'm going to do and not doing what I say I'm not going to do? But then there's the whole issue. I mean, so that's the yes, no. That's You can actually learn that one pretty easily. But changing an agreement, that's a skill that most people need practice with. And that's why I'm saying that having an advocate, maybe someone who's looking at the same issue themselves, and they're also
You're
playing
working
with,
it together. Yeah, yeah, like an
yeah, and you're exploring this new territory, because people are so sloppy
Mhm.
now with their agreements.
Sloppy
And
is a really good word. I mean, not without the judgment of it, but there's this
yeah,
little leaking, where it's like compared to other things that are happening that are so big in the world, therefore I should kind of accept.
yeah, this isn't really a big deal, but it actually is the foundation. So if you're building a building, and you've got, the foundation of it is off, the whole structure is going to be, yeah. So this is foundational, I find. And the way that I know that I'm functioning in integrity is that I feel these waves of aliveness and joy, and also expansion
Mhm,
to meet life. Because if I'm not in integrity, I am going to be pulling away in some, I'm going to be hiding in some way, or closing myself, protecting myself. So when I have that sense of openness and participation with life, that's really, I think, the big payoff, is that I get to engage more in life, rather than hiding out.
and I feel like, I mean, that's a spiritual concept more than the level at which we're speaking here. But I believe the universe responds when I'm in integrity. All of a sudden, there's like this person I really wanted to meet is sitting next to me on a plane, or there's this little magical thing that I truly don't see. Maybe I don't notice it as much, but I don't think it happens as much when I'm not impeccable. And so that's
I
another
agree.
argument for it. That's another.
Oh, yeah, you get these magical surprises. I call them sometimes little winks from the universe.
Yeah, yeah.
Just letting me know I'm on the right track. There'll be, some surprise, some happy surprise that happens. And we actually call this, in the levels of how you manifest in the world, we talk about mass, energy, and space, Newtonian, Einsteinian, and third way. And in Newtonian, it's really knowing that, as the Sufi says, when it rains, the streets get wet.
Mm-hmm.
And also, trust in God, but tie up your camel. So in mass world is really a lot about agreements and how you navigate your agreements. But then there's if you're changing your agreements, there's the whole thing about feelings, emotion. Somebody might be hurt or feel offended that you're not keeping an agreement. So navigating that. But what you're talking about is what we call third way or space. When you are in integrity, you become source. You're not anymore a consumer. You're the one you're the wellspring. You are, yes, and then you can be in the right place at the right time, and all kinds of magical things happen for you without effort. In mass world, we feel like I got to work really hard to make this happen. And when you are in mass world, that is true. But you can also, as you're opening up to being in integrity more and more, you get this support from the world. You get support from nature that is kind of like then your buddy and moving along with you rather than pouncing on you.
I love that. I mean, we're closing this episode, but I feel like I want to spend more time with you. I feel like there is a deep wisdom in what you were just describing that could be a very practical translation to, like, how do I make this choice? How do I make this choice? And to have this understanding of, like, people say making a choice is like a neutral, whether I choose this or that. And it's no.
Right. Yeah, I'll just do the pros and cons like my dad used to do. He do, like he would write it down, the pros and the cons, and then make a decision. But what we're talking about is letting your whole body wisdom, but also the wisdom that you carry in you through generations that have come before you. And all of those things can make life so much richer rather than, okay, now I'm going to do this. I'm going to do my work. And then, I can have my sandwich and then I'm going to, go to the store and then I'm going to watch television. So the whole idea of dancing with the universe happens, I think, through integrity.
I love that. I love how we always come back to, like, wherever we started. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, why did we start that we ended here? But it makes sense to me that we ended here. That's very profound. We'll have the FACT process on the notes for the show, because I find that to be very portable. Like, I can have it with me anywhere.
You can have it with you anywhere. And once you learn how to do it, you can do it very quickly.
Very fast. That's what
Very, very fast and very effective for in the moment decision making and moving through something that's shifted.
I love that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yum.